Is this a different one?
Yeah, I got a new one because the other one was like cracking. It was like, and then just cutting out, and I lost a bunch of sound. Okay.
We'll test first.
With this one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you're not gonna eat? Okay, you're done?
Yeah, finished. Oh, you finished this too?
Yeah. Hi, guys.
Would you like me to move the table, Miss?
Sure.
This astral woman. Okay, right away.
Okay, we're back. Hey, it's good to see you. We're back with another one today. I got a new mic. Some of you were complaining about the mic, so you were heard. Also, I'm not used to not having to hold my lav, so this is a real treat. Anyway, we're also in a different setting today. We're doing green and brown is the color story of this afternoon. I hope you like it. Next week, perhaps we'll try some orange. I don't know, we'll see. I'm in Puerto Rico right now, and there are lots of beautiful colors. So we're just kind of playing around. And by we, I mean me and my
You want this?
creative director. No, it's okay.
Is this
Thank you.
attached?
No, this is the video now.
Oh, shit. Also, Jesse's out there smoking, so...
Oh, well, you can walk this way.
Oh, I don't know if you'd be in frame. My bad.
Anyway.
Someone's list.
Okay, yeah, well, this is real life. People live here, and I'm filming around them, so. Anyway, all right, so we're turning this into a series. If you're anything like me, you may find that you're very curious about people, and sometimes I'm like, why are they like that? What is it? I'm gonna have to edit this because there's so much nonsense of me talking. I'm just warming up. Anyway, sometimes I look at people and I'm like, what? There has to be something in their natal chart that indicates this. And over the course of my life, I've been able to like predict certain placements in people's charts based on their behavior or habits. Like, I don't know, certain sleeping habits or intuition. I've been able to guess that they had, Pisces or 12th house placements, and I would look and I would be right. So we're going to start a series called Why Are They Like That? Or maybe we'll call it Why Are They Like This? But today I want to talk about Whitney Houston. So if you watched the Michael Jackson video, then I guess you're aware that we're on kind of an 80s kick. And when I was doing all my research on Michael Jackson, I stumbled upon Whitney. And I didn't know this. I did not know that she had a relationship with one of Michael Jackson's brothers. Scandalous. Let me know in the comments if you knew that already. It's the year of our Lord 2026, and I just found out. Anyway, and apparently that's what Saving All My Love for You was about. Full disclosure, I don't know a lot about Whitney Houston's private life. I know I have some recollection of some highly publicized situations in her love life and with addiction that circulated around me in the 90s when I was a child. So it wasn't anything I paid a lot of attention to, but it's something that I have been aware of. But I haven't delved into her personal life in any great detail. And I also chose not to for this video because I thought it would allow for a more objective sort of read onto her entire natal chart. So it's okay. Anyway, but in any case, so if any of the things that I observe do happen to really track, let me know. I'd be curious. But I will note the things I do know. So what I was curious about when I was looking at Whitney Houston's natal chart, wherever my notes are, here it is. Okay, so when I found out that Whitney Houston had an affair with one of Michael Jackson's brothers, it recalled to me her tenuous, to say the very least, and damaging toxic relationship with Bobby Brown, right? Brandon? Is it Bobby Brown that she ended up with?
I think so.
She died, right, of an overdose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you Google it? Can you Google his name for me? I'm sorry to bother you. Like, who was Whitney Houston's husband? Bobby something. No me acuerdo. Aisha's back.
Yeah.
Bobby Brown, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anyway, okay, so when I found out that she had an affair with one of Michael Jackson's brothers, it called to mind her relationship, her very rocky relationship with Bobby Brown, which, as far as I'm aware, and do correct me if I'm mistaken, was strongly associated with the end of her life. What I know of is that there was...
That's not, Michael Jackson's brother.
No, I know.
Oh, sorry.
Anyway, so what I know of about them is that there was a mutual dependency on substances that they both indulged in, and ultimately that led to her demise. And his, if I'm not mistaken. So, knowing these two high-profile relationships that I'm aware of, there could be others. I don't know what her other romantic or otherwise relationships were like. I was curious about betrayal, infidelity, and dependency, substance use indicators in her chart. And then, of course, and I don't want to linger solely on these troubling matters, you know, in the life of like such an icon. So obviously I'm also curious about her incredible gifts, you know, singing talent and indicators of fame in her chart. So I was looking for these sort of addictive tendencies, trouble with one-on-one partnerships, and then peripherally her talent in her natal chart. And so this is what we found. As usual, I'm doing a Western tropical natal whole sign house read. And there's so much here. I may not get to every aspect. I'm just going to freestyle and pick some of the ones that I think are really cool and interesting. And if you want to hear more, just let me know. Request a part 2 in the comments. Also, I want to preface all of this by saying that this is with the utmost respect for the life of Whitney Houston. I get chills when I listen to her sing. So it kind of feels a little bit like we're prying, sort of, just because astrology, in my view, is so descriptive. So I don't mean any harm in reading into her like this, or in anyone that I read into. It's just a matter of curiosity and learning. Okay, so let's talk about it. So the first thing I noticed when I opened up her chart is, just like Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston is also a Pisces rising. And just like Michael Jackson, she also has a couple of important planets in Leo, in the 6th house. But let's just go over the important placements and where they are. So Whitney Houston was born on Friday, August 9th, 1963 at 8:55 p.m. in Newark, New Jersey. She is a Leo sun with a Pisces ascendant and an Aries moon. Her ascendant is conjunct Chiron in the 1st house. Her moon is conjunct Jupiter in the 2nd house. Her sun is conjunct Venus in the 6th house. And she has a stellium of planets, which we're going to touch upon, in the 7th house, the house of relationships. And those planets include Pluto, Mercury, and Uranus. Peripherally, I'll add that she also has Mars in, the natural house of Scorpio, but it's ruled by Libra, house 8. And she has her chart ruler Neptune in Scorpio in house 9. Okay, so let's talk about this stuff. When I first look at her chart, outside of noticing that she has a Pisces rising, there are 2 imperfect grand trines in her chart. And maybe this is arguable because it's within kind of a wide orb If you're an astrologer too, tell me what your orb limitation is. For me, it's 5 degrees for something to be especially significant, but I'm going to give a little bit more leeway here for her. So Whitney Houston has her, let's talk about which trine should we talk about first. I want to talk about her 5th house, 9th house, 1st house trine. A trine, if you're unaware, like I said in my previous video, I will superficially elaborate on what some of the things that I'm talking about mean. But again, this is not a course on the rudimentaries of astrology, so if you want that, just request it in the comments. Anyway, a trine is a harmonious aspect. It's when planets are aiding one another and they're flowing helpfully. A trine indicates natural talent or gift. If it's not also accompanied by a friction aspect, such as an opposition or a square, then it can indicate resting on one's laurels and just kind of like coasting all the time. So a trine indicates potential, but it doesn't indicate manifestation unless more friction is activated within the chart. And she does certainly have a lot of friction, which I'm sure you could probably infer. Anyway, but one of the trines that I think is really beautiful for her is the trine between her ascendant, the North Node, and Neptune. And that's between the 1st house, the 5th house, and the 9th house. So she has her ascendant is conjunct Chiron. Chiron, it's not an astral body that I'm especially well versed in, but what I do understand is that it is associated with healing and pain, and where in life we have to move. It's the thing that you have to move through. You can't go around it in order to grow. And it's within a 5-degree orb of her ascendant, which it rules the identity. To me, that tells me that there's a lot of pain probably associated with her appearance, or how she views herself, or her life path, her whole trajectory. It rules her entire chart. So she has healing to work through with regards to her, you could even say, I don't know, her very self-esteem, identity, life's work, things like that. However, it's in a helpful aspect to the North Node. The North Node for her is in the 5th house, which rules performance. It's at 20 degrees of Cancer. It's a water trine. And so there's something to me that says there's something about healing through this identity crisis or lesson that is supported by performing, right? So being seen helps her overcome whatever this discomfort is to do with self or visibility. And then on top of that, her chart ruler, given that she's a Pisces rising, is Neptune. And Neptune is also in a trine to her North Node, and that is in the sign of Scorpio. In the 9th house of higher learning. Seems like somebody to me who is very philosophical, enjoys learning, shares what she learns, must share what she learns. There's something about being a teacher or a philosopher of some kind and expressing that publicly that helps her heal through her karma, her identity karma. And I'll leave that there. The second trine that I noticed was, yes, the midheaven. Okay. Another trine that she has, maybe this is imperfect, so I don't even know if it's going to count. I think it counts. Okay, she has a fire trine. And this has to do with her fame. So, Whitney Houston's midheaven, which is your life's work, is in the 10th house, which is your legacy and reputation, at 18 degrees of Sagittarius. And it is in a trine to her natal moon, conjunct Jupiter, in Aries. And those are at 17 degrees and 19 degrees respectively. So we're talking about within 3 degrees of each other, her legacy, the point that rules her legacy, reputation, and career is in a helpful aspect to the moon, which is her inner feelings, but also her voice, because the 2nd house rules the neck. First house to 12th house rules different parts of the body, starting from the head. First house, Aries. Second house is the neck. So second house often rules like the voice and the vocal cords and everything in here. So she has the moon there, right? And the moon is emotions, and it's conjunct Jupiter, which expands. And Jupiter is the largest planet. You can fit all of the other planets inside of Jupiter. So she has this enormous capacity for expressing her feelings through her voice. It's incredible. And you can obviously hear it when you listen to her sing, and you can see it in her chart. And it is helpfully aspecting her reputation, her legacy, her fame. So that right there to me is the indicator in her chart of the mark that she leaves. And then furthermore, that whole thing, right? So from her 10th house of career and her voice, it's also helpfully aspected by the sun, which is at 16 degrees of Leo, which rules kingship, royalty, performance, and visibility, which is conjunct Venus, which rules beauty and aesthetics and how one expresses beautiful things. And it's in the 6th house of daily life. So she has a perfect, and it's not perfect, I mean there's like a little bit, this is within a 7-degree orb at the maximum, but in any case, in her daily life, the sun, the way that she expresses herself and the way she expresses beauty is in the house of royalty, and it is helpfully aspected by an ability to express her feelings through her voice in a grandiose manner, which is released in the 10th house of her legacy. It's incredible. You can very clearly see how her voice, how all of these parts facilitate one another. Anyway, so I would, if I were it wouldn't be, yeah, if I were doing a cold reading, I would say this looks like the chart of a person who's very gifted and probably meant to make money and have a living through performance of some kind. Forgive me if I'm looking down for a lot of the video, I'm looking at her chart. And it's rude to talk to someone without making eye contact. I'm not avoiding you. Okay, so there we have two beautiful grand trines, taking a little bit of artistic astrological liberty here, because the trines are not within that 5-degree orb limit that I normally prescribe, but in any case I think they're still significant. The first one, so we're just summarizing what we've discussed so far. The first one indicating a need for healing through performance and visibility, because of Chiron conjunct her ascendant and North Node in the 5th house of performance. And the second one indicating her immense vocal capability and likelihood or karma of that coming through or using that skill in her daily life to achieve notoriety. Okay, so far we've talked about her some of her wounds. We touched on it a little bit, and we talked about her natural talent and the indicators of those in her chart. What we have not discussed yet are her relationships and indicators of pain or betrayal in the realm of one-on-one relationships and or addictions in her chart. So we're going to talk about that now. So the first thing I noticed when I was approaching her chart through the lens of where is it telling me that this is a person who had to experience severe pain and strife in one-on-one relationships in the chart, because she very publicly experienced all of those things. Immediately what stood out to me is that she had, and this is just, we'll start with like simple and we'll just layer it, is that she has Pluto in the 7th house. Pluto rules obsession, death, addiction, hidden things, private things, obscurity, the end of seasons. It's Hades, basically. Whenever I look at Pluto, I think literally of the story of, is it Demeter? the Greek story of the origins of spring and how she was kidnapped. How is it Demeter? No, I forgot the name of I think Demeter was the mom. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Those of you person watching who is very well versed in Greek mythology, please tell me the name of the princess that I'm referring to. Thank you. But in any case, to not get lost in details, the daughter of Demeter was kidnapped by Hades and brought into the underworld. And he kept her there, and then there was no more spring. It was eternal winter. And then her mother begged to have her daughter back, and Hades agreed as long as the girl did not turn and look back on her way out of the underworld. Otherwise, he would have to keep her. And she did. She turned and she looked back. And so that is why half the year is icy cold and the other half is warm, because for half of the year she is with him in the underworld. Anyway, so thank you. Forgive me for that brief digression, but it relates. So that, to me, Hades' role in that narrative is Pluto. It's the sucking away of all of the warmth and moving down into darkness. And I know that sounds scary, and I don't mean to be on a soapbox here, but obviously it's an essential part of the cycle of life. Things falling away, dying, composting, things like that. Okay, so returning to Whitney Houston's chart, what does this mean? Well, she has this sort of composting energy directly across from her ascendant in her 7th house of relationships, which to me indicates that she's either going to meet people who take on or personify this energy for her, or she's going to have relationships that personify this energy. So it doesn't necessarily have to mean that the person is that Hades for her. It could very well mean that the relationship brings up things inside of her that take on that Plutonian form. Okay, so that's just a really easy one for that question. And then on top of that, so it's conjunct the Pluto in her 7th house is also conjunct Mercury. And then she has Uranus there in the 7th house. This is all 7th house stuff. Uranus, Mercury, Pluto. They're all in the 7th house, hanging out, causing a ruckus. Anyway, so Pluto and Mercury are conjunct one another. Lots of very, I don't want to say deep, I need a better word. Lots of very transformative discussions. Probably suspicion, right? Or like, I need the truth, or like secrets, right? Like Pluto rules secrets, but Mercury is an investigator, and it's in the sign of Virgo, which is naturally ruled by Mercury. She's very smart, or she is in relationships with people who try to obscure the truth and or uncover the truth. I don't know. To me, it looks like a lot of, it could be arguments. I don't know, but there's not Mars there. And it's not obscure like Neptune, but there's something about secrecy and uncovering secrets or something. Or then that's just one way you could interpret it. I mean, another interpretation could very well be like that, a connection via the mind, like a deep mental connection. I forget what the word is when someone is sexually aroused by intellect. Please put that in the comments if you know what word I'm referring to. Anyway, but it could be that. It could also mean like, because Pluto is also a kind of a sexy planet and Mercury is intellect. So it could be that she is also, she connects with people in one-on-one relationships through the mind. Especially because she has Virgo there. And then finally, Uranus being in the 7th house. Uranus is like the, upheaver of all things. And when I look at Uranus, I think of the ground shaking. I think of earthquakes. I think of in lack of stability. I think literally the ground beneath you moving and knocking everything down. And so there's she's born with this. I had a transit recently of Uranus going through my 7th house, and it was a real, man, I don't know. If you're going through this, let me know. But nobody was reliable. I couldn't rely on anything, right? It was like a real exercise in detaching from expectations. I found it really frustrating because personally I'm someone who really appreciates stability and like predictability in that area of my life, and so I'm really glad that that's over. But she's born with that energy there, so she has to deal with that forever. Anyway, not to make light of it, because obviously it was damaging. So those are some important relationship indicators in her chart that I think kind of answer that question about where in Whitney Houston's chart are we seeing evidence of relationship turmoil, as demonstrated by our, everything that was in the press. And then the very final thing that I'll touch upon, and there's more. So if you want to see a part 2, let me know. But I'll just touch on one more thing, and this again is still related to the relationship indicators in the chart. Obviously, if you're looking for relationship patterns in a natal chart, you got to look at Venus. So this discussion would be incomplete where we did not discuss Venus. And so I'm looking at Venus, and I see that she is in Leo. So in love, she wants to be adored, but like treated like a queen. That's what makes her feel beautiful. But it's opposite Saturn in house 12. Okay, so her Venus it's conjunct the sun. The way that she expresses herself is in a Leonin fashion, which again is royalty and performance, within a 5-degree orb. So that counts as very significant in my 5-degree orb limitation. But it's also opposite Saturn. So her Venus is at 11 degrees of Leo and Saturn is at 19 degrees of Aquarius. So that's an 8-degree orb. So it's a little bit wider than I normally allow, but it's still within 10 degrees, and I still think that it's impacting her. And why do I say that? Well, it's probably a chicken or the egg thing. It's because to be honest, I'm reading backwards from my awareness of her relationship history, but I can justify this. So Saturn rules limitations. It constricts, and it's opposing the planet that rules love and romance. And so there's this I don't want to say inability, because it's not like it's impossible, but there's difficulty with full expression of the romantic capability. And it's interesting because Leo is actually quite generous and grandiose. So it's kind of like very different from how that sign would normally express, or how that placement would probably normally express. Could also say that it's like there's a lot of lessons that need to be learned in love, because Saturn also rules hard lessons and hard work. It's the grand father principle. So there is this sort of compression, I think, of that Venusian Leoan energy in that regard. However, but the other thing that I think is really fascinating here is that Saturn is in the 12th house. It's not only that they're opposed, it's where they're opposed. So Saturn in the 12th house rules a number of things, but one of them is institutions. It's the 12th house is, many astrologers will be aware of this, is known as the dustbin of the zodiac, being the last house in the zodiacal wheel. It's where everything sort of ends up. I don't want to call it, for lack of a better word, and I don't want you to take this in a very direct, literal sense, so just follow me with this metaphor, but it's like the trash can, right? Everything kind of ends up there, and it needs to be processed before it gets produced again and birthed back into house 1. And so there will be, it is an obscure house, right? Things will end up in obscurity when they end up there. They're not meant to be seen. It also rules dreams and the nebulous and all things ethereal. It is a soup, a cosmic soup. And therefore, one of the things it represents are institutions, but institutions where people go where they are not seen because they are processing things. So that includes prison or asylums, hospitals, institutions like these. Anyway, and so when I consider addiction and things like this, because addiction is also could be, I don't know, you might argue perhaps, might be a little bit of a stretch, that 12th house could be associated with addiction just because of its relationship to Pisces. I don't know, let's discuss. I'm open to opening my mind on that. Anyway, that Saturn in the 12th house opposing Venus in the 6th there is helpful for me in understanding her relationship patterns a little bit. Okay, well, that's all I have. I feel like I've talked for a while, and you know, you've eavesdropped on some of my other conversations here. If you found this interesting, let me know. Let me know who you want to do next. Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep going with my old lady selections of people born before 1970. Anyway, for now. And if you want to hear more about Whitney Houston's chart, let me know in the comments. If you have a particular question about her chart or someone else's chart and you want to look at it because it would be fun and interesting, leave it in the comments. If you want to see more stuff like this, make sure you subscribe. We're posting weekly here now. If you want to see what color the wall behind me is going to be next week, make sure you turn on your notification bell. Otherwise, you're going to miss out. Okay, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Yay, we did it!